Today, I'd like to tell you the story about a man who ran his department pretty well, but was having trouble for the last several months with the meetings that the team held. People were having side conversations, people were mumbling, people were coming ill-prepared, people weren't even showing up on time for some of these meetings, and it was increasingly frustrating to him. He tried sarcasm, he tried cajoling them, he tried calling them on it in public. He tried having one-on-one meetings privately with folks, but still the meetings didn't go very well. So he said, one day I decided that there wasn't much more I could do except I could do one thing myself to make those meetings a little more effective. And I put together a plan on how I wanted to do it, and I decided to tell them all about it at the next staff meeting. And sure enough, at the next staff meeting, Phil said, I want to say something now about how our meetings are going. He said, so I've decided that the only thing I know how to have direct control over and can fix myself immediately is me. And I've made a decision on something I'm going to do differently in our meetings. I'd like to share that with you. And then he stood up at the end of the table and began to remove his tie. People kind of waited and wondered and thought, well, maybe he's just getting a little more comfortable before he makes his point. But no, he removed the tie entirely and tossed it onto the table. And then he turned around so his back was to the table. And from that position, they could see him unbuttoning his shirt. Slowly but surely, he got the whole thing unbuttoned, started tugging at it and pulling it out of his pants. And then, without looking at them, he removed his shirt, tossed it behind himself, landed it on the table. At that point, people were kind of wondering, what the heck has Phil been drinking today, or smoking today, or snorting today? Something's up with Phil. This is a little weird. And then he turned around and faced the group, and he was wearing a t-shirt. And the t-shirt happened to be one that he had purchased at one of those specialty shops where you can have a t-shirt made with whatever you want on the front of it. And on the front of his, it said, I will stop interrupting. And the group read that and laughed and went a round of applause. He said, that's the thing I'm going to do differently. I'm going to stop interrupting. But the genius of his intervention didn't end there. He then took a stack of handouts and gave one to everybody in the room. It had nothing on it except the outline of a t-shirt. No words, no anything else, just the outline of a t-shirt. He gave one to everyone in the room, and he asked them to take a moment and think about their own performance in these meetings and to decide for themselves what's one thing they could do differently. So everybody thought about it for a moment, and people started writing them down. And when they were all finished, he said, now let's go around the room. And one by one, they said whatever it was that they had written down. Phil tells me that after that meeting and after that exercise, the quality of his meetings was improved 1,000%. He said people got it for the first time in memory. They understood. Around the room, there was a noticeable improvement, and it lasted for quite a while. So I'm telling you this story for two reasons. Number one, if you want significant change within your team to occur, you might start by going first. You might be the person who's willing to be vulnerable enough to go first and say, this is what I'm going to change, before inviting others to think about what they're going to change. And then when you do invite others to think about what they might do to make a change, invite them to declare it publicly. The fact that everybody in the room had gone around and said, I will do this, or I will no longer do that, was powerful, and it stuck with the group, and it worked. And even after that meeting, he noticed the quality of his meetings was improved 1,000%. That's the story. I knew you'd love it. And I can't wait to see you in the next video.